Welcome to this webinar. I am so excited that you are here, and I am also so looking forward to share with you what I have to share with you in this webinar. It really changed my life. It put my life on a completely different direction, and I have no doubt it can do the same for you. I am really excited about what is happening in the online remoting environment and the very exciting new opportunities that are available not only for people but also for businesses to accelerate their success and to grow beyond where any other business paradigm can actually take them to. Online remoting has become an exciting environment. It's great to see so many more people are making money online these days. A very exciting newer reality is that service-based industries are now absolutely thriving online, and they have a much lower risk of failure than the traditional e-commerce or online trading approaches that we used to think was what online work was all about. But it's sad to see how old paradigms and business practices are limiting the value and the opportunity and hampering growth for businesses and companies that start to engage online. It is also sad to see how many still think you need to scale down your earning expectations when you move online. Quite the opposite is true if you do it right. That is why this webinar outlines how to use the transformed online remoting environment to accelerate your business success in ways not possible in any other business paradigm. Within 3 years, I have gone from having been made redundant in my salaried position to having started 2 businesses. One is part of an international network of business incubators and accelerators in the impact economy and thriving. The other is a thriving online business, 100% online, completely virtual, not employing anybody, that makes at least double my final salary each month, and I started it when the COVID pandemic struck. And there is still so much upward potential for my business. It is just mind-boggling what you can achieve online these days, especially with the maturing of online remoting. I am also not the only one. I've worked with Elizabeth during this time. She's one of the members of my business, and she started an online business for the very first time during this stretch of 3 years because she wanted global mobility. Having always worked as a volunteer, Elizabeth needed to transition to earning an income when she moved to a new country. She decided to establish an online business using storytelling, conducting interviews, and producing videos and for brand marketing. Not only did this provide a decent income fairly soon after starting, so she needed tax advice which she never needed before, but it also continued to raise an income as she needed to travel to another country for family reasons and got stuck there for months due to COVID-19 restrictions. Here's the thing. In 2019, I was excited and ready to roll because I was privileged to have in-depth knowledge about 3 major long-term trends that were colliding and still are colliding and providing spectacular new opportunities. The first is globally how innovation happens. The second is the maturing of online remote work. That has been going on for at least 2 decades, but many more people became aware of it and it just exploded. The maturity of this environment is now completely the same as any other business environment. And then thirdly, the advances in entrepreneurship in recent years. And I'm going to be looking at these 3 things and how they interact and how they literally amplify one another in such a way that for businesses there's now opportunities online that boggles the mind. Let's look at entrepreneurship first. The first thing I need to do is to just explain what I mean by entrepreneurship. We tend to think that entrepreneurs start new businesses, but in recent years, entrepreneurship has spilled over into social entrepreneurship, impact entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial communities, etc. So, entrepreneurship goes beyond starting a business, although it obviously includes it like it always has. But do you recognize this? Entrepreneurship is a force that mobilizes resources to meet unmet market demand. It's the ability to create and build something from practically nothing. It's the process of creating value by pulling together a unique package of resources to realize an opportunity. The characteristics of successful entrepreneurs are they can orchestrate people, strategies, and technologies to fit changing environments. They are creative risk takers. They thrive on change and cope well with uncertainty. They are determined and disciplined in implementing their visions and ideas, and they enjoy deciding and making forward-looking decisions. Do you see yourself in this? Then whether or not you would fit into the narrow definition of entrepreneurs just starting new businesses, if these are the traits that you portray in your life and in your work life, then you are part of what I encapsulate by the term entrepreneurship in this particular webinar. The point here is, look at these attributes. What if whole communities, what if society as a whole start to have these traits? What will happen? Let's look at innovation. As part of my last salary job where I directed research and innovation, I visited the top 5 countries in the Global Innovation Index every year for 5 years in a row, and I wanted to answer this question: how does innovation work where it works well? Because by learning from that, I can then contextualize back and bring the best of global practice back to my local work that I was doing as I was in my last salary job. So I visited those countries, and here are the countries. Switzerland almost always first, Sweden almost always second, and then the others kind of move up and down: the United Kingdom, South Korea, Netherlands, Singapore, Denmark, and Finland. I took 5 weeks out of every single year for 5 years and visited the top 5 in that year's Global Innovation Index, wanting to know, how does innovation work where it works well? And the best way to explain to you one of the things that I've learned about how innovation happens and how countries that do really, really well in innovation stand out from other countries is, I want to tell you the Forsa story. Now, Forsa is a small town in rural Finland. It's about 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours north of Helsinki. That particular town had, like many small rural towns, a factory, a timber factory that most people worked at. And then there came a time, this is now a long time ago, there came a time when the factory closed. So, like what happens in small towns, people would no longer have jobs, and suddenly the local economy tanked in. What happened in that particular case, the businesses in that town came together and they decided it is not in their best interest if there's no job opportunities in the town, if people move away, and if the economy is going backwards. So what they did was they agreed and they worked together to start a local circular economy where they would support new startups and invest in new startups using waste streams from other companies and other businesses. So they created a local circular economy and reinvigorated the business environment and the economy of the local town. Forsa proved that circular economy is not just this thing about saving the planet. It actually is something you can use to drive economic growth. Now, Forsa became the poster child. So years after that, Finland as a whole embraced in its national economic policy circular economy as a driver for growth because of the success story of this local town that just spread around, and it just proliferated, and Finland just became known early on in circular economy. Forsa also became the poster child for the EU as a whole and is often used as an example of how circular economy can be used as a driver for economic growth. But what actually happened here? Let's just step back. What actually happened here? In a small town threatened to lose its vibrant community because the factory closed down, the businesses came together, they worked together to reinvigorate the economy by working together to grow a local circular economy. The whole business community worked together to kickstart a completely different economy in that little small town. Today it's a thriving town and in the business economy, and the picture that you see there is where the factory used to be. The local University of Applied Sciences are now there. The startup hubs are there. There's space for co-working there. There's space for small startups. So it's a vibrant hub of entrepreneurial activity. And while people start individual businesses, the fact is this is systemic innovation where a whole community work together. Now, once again, we know the individual or the business-driven innovation. What if communities, what if the whole society start to work together to innovate together and to achieve these kinds of systemic innovations? What will happen if that was the case? Let's have a look at remote work. Now, Remote work, of course, became very well known during the COVID-19 pandemic, but prior to COVID, it was already very well known. The notion of flexible workspace policies was very well established. Look at this date of this particular graph that I'm giving you here, March 2019. That was prior to COVID. And look at the countries who already, businesses in those countries, they already use flexible workspace policies to attract and to retain top talent. But it was a perk for top-tier executives. Question is, what if everybody has these benefits? What will happen? Well, what's going to happen is you're going to have a global talent pool at your fingertips as a business. It will create a completely new business landscape where you now have a workforce that you can engage with the global best talent almost on demand. And for that reason, a whole new way to muster the advances in entrepreneurship and innovation that I have just explained to you will come about. And then COVID-19 happened. So instead of moving forward with all these exciting new things that I've learned, I had to go into lockdown like most of us did. And during that time, I realized many people will be forced into early retirement as a result of this and will need new opportunities. What is more, it's no longer going to be just the top-tier executives. Many will experience and therefore prefer working remotely and with flexible hours and will not want to go back to a typical office job. The innovative and entrepreneurial traits of society will be unleashed, because when these kind of disruptive changes happen, then these are the traits that come together and create completely new things. And I realize this is what's going to happen. And from that, a whole new business environment will emerge, because you're going to have a far more expanded workforce that is available to you globally. Plus, people will have to learn during COVID, they did learn how to make use of the technology so that they can actually function in the online world. So a whole new business environment will emerge. Now, at the time when I figured these things out, I couldn't have imagined how pronounced these changes would be. But what I did is I pivoted to provide services online to those impacted by COVID-19 and unlock the opportunities provided by this new environment for both individuals and businesses. So that kind of was the catalyst where these things matured really, really fast, so that together and individually, the three global trends that I mentioned now provide explosive opportunities that exceed possibilities in any other business paradigm. If you do it right, you can have the type of online business that thrives with a low risk of failure without having to slave endless hours for insignificant outcomes. But it requires a serious mind shift and a willingness to learn completely new ways of creating success. So here's what my life looks like now. I live in a caravan full-time. I travel in this beautiful country of New Zealand where I am privileged to live in, and I see all these wonderful, wonderful places while I work from my caravan. I work less than half the time that I've worked when I previous work, and I earn much, much more. And I do the most wonderful things and I see the most wonderful places. For instance, look at that bird sitting on my little sun stove while I'm busy making my morning tea sitting outside of my caravan. It is just a fantastic lifestyle, and I've got all the freedom, all the flexibility, all the benefits that I want. Plus, my business thrives way beyond what I could have imagined, and it's because I'm integrating these mega trends that are colliding and providing completely new opportunities. But it's not only me. Here is Anne-Marie. She wanted to expand an existing business internationally. She has had a successful customer relationship management business since 2012. She successfully expanded internationally within a few months by extending her business online. Here's Suzette. She didn't know what she wanted to focus on as she transitioned to online remoting. She just knew she wanted to do it. Within 8 months, she not only sorted out what she wanted to focus on in the online world, she had a successful online self-development service-based business that is now thriving. Here is Anna. She already had an online store selling products that she develops herself and then market in the dietary supplement industry. She wanted to expand and supplement her income by transforming it into a service-based business, and she succeeded within 3 months by focusing on how to go about this in the online world. As you can see, everybody's results are different. It's shaped by their own priorities, their own goals, and the outcomes that they want to achieve. But the fact is, you can successfully plan and develop your your dream life, financially supported by an online service-based business where you make more money, you have more time, you live the life you want to live, and you're in control of your future. This change over the last number of years have moved so fast that our mindsets kind of stayed behind and we're still catching up. So I just want to give you a few things that we still think that's totally not true. People still think that online business is mostly about e-commerce and online trading. Reality is that service-based businesses are thriving and succeeding at an accelerated pace with a much lower risk profile. People still think you need to know a lot about technology to succeed online. There are many exciting opportunities available to you without being bogged down by all the techie stuff, because there's a whole workforce out there now that you can engage with to do the things and to fill the gaps in expertise and capabilities that you need. People still think that only certain industry sectors can succeed online. Reality is online remoting has matured in the same breadth as the traditional bricks and mortar business paradigm. Almost anything that you can do in any business, you can now do in the online world as well. People still think that online businesses, the types of online businesses, are limited to things like online stores, multi-level marketing, online training, and those types of things. Reality is most types of businesses can now succeed online. Success is just created differently online. People still think that starting a successful online business is the same as starting a traditional business. And it's true, starting a business is starting a business, so there are some similarities. But the online world also offers completely new approaches and completely new opportunities. And you unlock most value when you engage with that reality. So who am I? Let me just give you a very brief overview of my work experience. I was a chief scientist in my younger life, where I advised national decision makers, leading teams of innovators and practitioners to advise national decision makers in highly risky and uncertain environments where we provided a scientific service. I have been working in online remoting on the side because it fascinated me from the early 2000s that it started. I've been working in it on the side for more than 20 years. And I've seen its development and growth, and I'm absolutely excited about what has happened during the pandemic, because it just burst into the spotlight, where everybody became aware of it, and now everybody sees the benefits and people want it. Still, businesses are a little bit slow to recognize that this move is always of massive benefit to the business environment. It's still pretty much looked at as an employer-employee type of world, whereas honestly there are so many more things and ways to go about it where that paradigm is just completely no longer relevant. My last salaried job, I directed research and innovation, and I've just shared with you what I've learned during those where I went to the countries that do in the top 5 of the Global Innovation Index. But during that time, I already developed and led globally dispersed teams of innovators that innovate in completely new ways. Not only does technology make it available, it is the mindsets, it is the traits that develop in people as they learn in this new environment. They innovate in completely different ways, and entrepreneurship becomes a completely different thing. But let me just illustrate. During that time, when I was in that particular role, the government in New Zealand has a 6-yearly independent audit for all the research officers in tertiary institutions, and I was working in a tertiary institution. During that 6-yearly audit, I think it was from 2013 to 2018, my office was the best growth performer in New Zealand as a whole, across all tertiary institutions, with more than 125% growth. The second one, the university that was in the second place, grew with 67%. I'm telling you this so that you can see how completely explosive the growth is that you can bring about by integrating these things that I have been telling you about. I'm a seasoned entrepreneur. I always bring about change. I always start new enterprises, whether it's in a large organization or whether it's new businesses. And I already told you that during the last 3 years, I started 2 new businesses. My only regret is, why didn't I start this journey much, much sooner? So who is this training for? Who would really benefit from this webinar and from implementing what I share in this webinar? If you are proactive, you're a self-starter, and you enjoy new challenges, this is the world that you want to engage in. If you see that the online opportunities far exceed more traditional paradigms, but you kind of look at it and it's almost like Alice in Wonderland or a kid in a candy shop where these opportunities just pass you by and you don't know how to get a handle on it, this is for you. If you have an existing business that you want to grow and extend online, this is for you. If you are working really, really hard to grow your online service-based business, but it requires all your attention almost 24/7 and growth is slow, by looking at what I'm sharing in this particular webinar and customize it for your particular business and implementing it in a way where you can unlock maximum benefit, things will change really fast for your business if you do. This training is not for you if you really do not thrive in uncertainty and you prefer predictability. And there's nothing wrong with being like that, but this environment really requires a kind of a proactive, embracing change, excited about creating new value world. So if you're the kind of person who do not thrive in uncertainty and you prefer predictability, this world is probably not the best place for you. So people who are happy to just through trial and error try to make changes and see how they can create success, this approach provides much more than just a trial and error incremental change type of world. If you are not willing to invest time and money to develop a successful online business, this is probably not for you, because what I'm sharing with you is not a quick fix. It's not a get-rich-quick world. It does require effort. It does require investment, but it offers so much, and the benefits just explode once you, can I say, crack the code and start to do it right. People who are not willing to explore completely new mindsets, business design principles, and business practices in order to optimize value and outcomes, if you want to stick to what you've always known, this is probably not for you. So here is what we're going to cover. Firstly, building a thriving service-based business in the innovation economy. Secondly, how prismatic business design transforms your business in 2 months. I'm going to give you examples. And thirdly, how to succeed fast and sidestep the risk of failure as you establish and grow your online business. Let's look at this first. Building a thriving, service-based business in the innovation economy. What is an innovation economy? Think long-term. Think mega trends. We first had the Industrial Revolution, the industrial economy, where we monetize things, products and commodities. And then we developed into the knowledge economy, where you now have experts and they sell services and we are monetizing knowledge. In the countries that do really, really well in the innovation index, what I have observed is the knowledge economy maturing into an innovation economy that drives the economy big time, where you monetize novelty and change, and you have progress and impact as the drivers to bring that about. So when I talk about the innovation economy, that is what I'm talking about. I'm going to give you an example. In Sweden, those of you who remember when mobile phones just started out, when we had these big bricks of mobile phones, Ericsson was one of the early success stories in the mobile industry. Ericsson comes from Sweden, a city called Lund. That's where Ericsson was based. And later on, Ericsson was purchased by Sony in Japan. So after Sony purchased Ericsson, there came a time when they decided they wanted to shift the headquarters of what was then known as Sony Ericsson to Japan. Problem was, that would mean that about 3,000 highly skilled people in Sweden would lose their jobs. And Sweden didn't want to lose that skill base. So what they did was part of the agreement with Sony, as Sony moved the headquarters to Japan, was that they used all the intellectual property that they created as Ericsson. They put it in a holding company to which they then link a co-working space and a business incubator. And those 3,000 people got access to that intellectual property, and they could start their own businesses and started completely new developments from that. So it wasn't transferred as part of Sony Ericsson to Japan. That became what is now known as Mobile Heights in Lund in Sweden. Now, Mobile Heights grew into being one of the hubs of digital innovation in Europe. And here you have an example of how innovation and entrepreneurship is transformed, where you have innovative individuals, you have innovative businesses, but communities and societies start to work together to do systemic innovation. They move beyond competition. They create win-win outcomes, and they create collective success. It's not about my success, it's about our success, and it is about creating collective success. So the Sony Ericsson to Mobile Heights story is just one example of how this mindset, entrepreneurial mindset and innovative mindset, and how innovation happens in countries like that really opens horizons and brings about change that is almost beyond our imagination. The question is, What if your online business is embedded in the fertile ground of this type of innovation economy or ecosystem? Can you imagine that? Where you are enabled to grow way beyond what you could have done in any other setting. Here's an example of one entrepreneur and her feedback and experience when she was embedded in an innovation ecosystem like this. This is just taken from an article of one of our members, Marie, that we put online on LinkedIn. Growing as she proceeds, she stands amazed by the new experiences, new heights, new accomplishments. Her success gives her confidence to grow her business exponentially. Remitania is a phenomenal program and has made all the difference to me, says this thriving entrepreneur. Much bigger than anything I ever tried, bigger than what I even imagined. When she started to experience this culture of win-win situations, of collective success, of moving beyond competition and be embedded in an environment where you are enabled to succeed through systemic innovation, this was what she articulated as what her experience was. Let's look at how prismatic business design transforms your business in 2 months. What is prismatic business design? It is looking at your business through the prism of online remoting, getting clarity of how to do business in this completely new world, and designing your business from scratch to fit into that world and the practices of that business to unlock value from that world. That is prismatic business design and practice. You need to master the art of unlearning and relearning to really get maximum benefit from this environment. You need to identify and terminate business designs and practices no longer necessary or not productive in the online world. You need to learn what is new and crucially important in the transformed business paradigm and focus your effort and resources on that. What you have always known about business will work online. There's no doubt about that. It is just that you can do so much more by embracing this new environment for what it is and don't try to shape it to fit into old paradigms. Looking at things completely fresh, there are 2 prisms that I need to mention here. Your operations will work completely differently in the online world if you fully embrace the online world benefits and what is possible in the online world. You need to design your business for growth from scratch, and getting clarity of how to do that is so important from the beginning. The other is outcomes prism. We create success in a completely new way, and the types of outcomes that you can monetize are also completely different. So you need to design from the very beginning to have the benefit of creating these outcomes and achieve high impact using the novel and new ways available in the online world. So here's the formula. Prismatic business design and practice plus a matured gig economy. Now, the gig economy are those that are no longer working under employment. They do a multitude of contracts, sometimes in sequence, sometimes in parallel, but it is where people no longer work as an employee. They work for themselves and they do contracts for different companies. So prismatic business design and practice plus a matured gig economy, for which we can to a large extent thank the COVID-19 pandemic to actually throw this into the limelight and maturing it. That really does lead to explosive growth for businesses. There's no barriers to growth, and it's a really low risk of failure if you do it right. And businesses are still thinking in employee mode, and they're still thinking in old business paradigm mode, and that is why we have these debates of whether online and whether the remote is a good idea. It's a completely new world. You need to start from scratch and engage with it on its own terms and make use of its benefits. It really does lead to explosive growth. So there's the formula. You have a completely new type of business, a completely new type of workforce that you can integrate to achieve explosive growth for your business. I already shared something from an article that we wrote about Marie, one of our members, who moved from a struggle to sustainable online business growth. Now Marie, she was trying to get her startup off the ground when unexpected family responsibilities suddenly claimed much of her time and resources. She was about to give up, and then she discovered Remitania. Within 2 months, Marie's business quadrupled its revenues, with sustainable growth ever since. As her business grows, she can serve more clients, be available to her family, and have time to enjoy life. She can do all three of those, make more money, have time for her family, and enjoy life. No longer a struggle with 24/7 busyness activity leading to insignificant benefit. Let's look at how to succeed fast and sidestep the risk of failure as you enter into this world and start to unlock its value for your own business. Very well known is the valley of death. When you start something new, you go through this valley of death where most businesses die. In fact, more than 90% of e-commerce business startups fail within 120 days. Most businesses don't get through the valley of death, which is just a common feature of startup businesses. That's just the way it works. In the entrepreneurial world, it is very well known. However, if we add to the two prisms that I already discussed with you, a third one, the value prism, where you look at the online world from the perspective to engage in the online world for success. If you put those three together and you work with all three of them, you can unlock so much value and actually avoid the valley of death. But what do I mean by a value prism? Let me explain it this way. In the office paradigm, where you work from 8 to 5 or 8 to 4 or 9 to 5 or whatever, you have certain fixed hours that you work. We have come up with work processes and ways of doing things that keep us busy for 8 hours because we have to be there for 8 hours anyway. And you will not believe how many people who started to work for themselves in this new online paradigm said to me they only now realize to what extent they have actually created ways to do things that would keep them busy so that they would be busy for 8 hours in the office because they have to be there for 8 hours. Now, when you move into the online world, we waste time in a completely different way. We become paranoid because we feel now we need to make connections because otherwise we're going to be isolated or we're going to become lonely. So we have this thing of constantly connecting online and liking things and discussing and being busy with connecting and interacting with others on the online social media platforms or business platforms, etc., etc. It's a bit like throwing mud at a wall, hoping something will stick. So we used to waste time by how we work to fill 8 hours. In the online world, we need to be careful that we don't waste time with constant unproductive connecting and discussing things and spending time on social media platforms. We need to be clear on how to engage for success in the online world so we don't trade one type of unproductive practice for another type of unproductive practice. I want to give you two examples. And once again, they come from my journey as I visited these 5 countries every year in the top 5 of the Global Innovation Index. Chaos Pilot is in Denmark. It started in Denmark. It's now all over the world. But what it is really is what it says. It is a pilot leadership through disruptive change. It's an alternative to an MBA. That's the level of qualification where they pitch it. Now, what struck me was whenever I visited Sweden, the movers and shakers in the national innovation system, whenever you visit them, many of them, when they introduce themselves, they would introduce themselves, give their name and say, I'm a Chaos Pilot graduate. And I started to think by myself, all these people that lead the innovation in a country that is almost consistently second on the Global Innovation Index mention that they're from Chaos Pilot. So what is this? So I found out, and I've just told you what it is. It really is, you go and they train you how to lead disruptive change initiatives in a chaotic environment when change happens fast. Nomads is a spin-off. It was initially a spin-off from Chaos Pilot, and it fascinated me because of the following reason. They deliver a program, a tertiary educational program, 9 months if I remember correctly. They are in Amsterdam, and the thing is they're not accredited by the government, which means you would go there, you would pay to do this 9-month program, and then you get a useless piece of paper at the end because it's not accredited by the government. So in my mind, the question was, so why would anybody bother to do that? So I contacted them. They were very gracious. They allowed me to spend a day with them, where not only was I able to interview their leaders, but I also was able to interact with their students in their current program that was running at that time. And they had a wide range of people working there, from somebody who just completed school the previous year and wanted to take a year to figure out what she wanted to do. So she decided she's going to do this program. to help her figure that out, to somebody who left a PhD program to come and transition and do the Nomads program. Now that fascinated me. The PhD obviously would open fantastic career opportunities, but dropping that and coming to do the Nomads program where there is absolutely no accreditation from the government. So I asked him, why do you do this? Why do you do this? Why is this more valuable for you than to do a PhD? And here is what he said. During these 9 months, we become part of a tribe of nomads. Nomads really are nomadic knowledge workers. They complete that program and they are then prepared globally to work across the globe on large change initiatives, taking the lead because that is what that program prepares them for. And every single year, they only take about 30 people into that program. So every year, they don't call them a cohort, they call them a tribe. So every year, they've got a new tribe. And as the people who complete this program grows, so does their collective working together across the globe as a network of nomadic knowledge workers bringing about systemic change globally. So what does this program actually do? What is its function? It is an induction. It prepares you to become part of a community of entrepreneurs, of innovators, of change makers that make a significant difference. Once again, societal innovation, community groups working together for collective success and bringing about change on a systemic level. So here are the 3 prisms that are absolutely important when you want to engage meaningfully with the online world. There's the operations prism where you design for growth in this environment. There's the value prism where you make sure you engage in order to advance, to bring about significant success. And the outcomes prism where you achieve high impact, engaging with this world on its own terms, not bringing old mindsets and old paradigms into it. By doing this, not only do you completely avoid the valley of death, you have a simplified pathway to success and you have accelerated growth beyond initial success. It is absolutely staggering what can be done in this new world if you engage with it on its own terms, and how it turns entrepreneurship, innovation on its head because it has a completely new workforce, a completely new way of doing business, and completely new ways of creating success. It really is mind-boggling. Just from the few examples that I've given you from my own experience, from businesses that I have worked with, it really does bring about explosive change for those who fully embrace it. At the core is this prismatic business design, prismatic business practice, where we integrate these global trends of innovation entrepreneurship and we look at the world, the online world, that brings about from the perspective of the online remoting environment as it is happening and as it has matured and still is being matured. I have alluded to it, but let me say it out loud. In this new world, you can get access to the expertise and know-how you need because you've got access to a global workforce. You can bring the best of global talent into your business. It doesn't cost you a fortune. You do not have the complexity of international recruitment because you engage with the gig economy, where you work on a contract-by-contract basis, and this matured online gig economy makes it so easy to get exactly what you want when you want it in an affordable way to develop and grow your business, and it opens completely new horizons. You just need to know how to do that. I've used the word a few times, Remotania. What does it mean? It is the business that I have started when I realized that COVID-19 was going to make a big difference in terms of how work happens, how people will experience it, and people will have to retire early, etc., etc. I started this looking at how do I help people and businesses engage in the online remote world on its own terms and create success beyond their wildest imagination. That business has been running now for 3 years, a little bit more than 3 years, and it has 3 times growth every single year. It has a simplified roadmap to success because it uses this prismatic approach to both business design and prismatic business practice. And you can engage with relevant global talent. I recruited nobody into Remotania, and yet it's a substantial business that's running, and I work with 10 plus freelancers at any given time, and they work on exactly what I want them to do next. And as a result, I have an accelerated journey to growth and scale. How did I go about it? Well, first of all, I use these prisms to help me decide what is it that I need to put in place to make this work. And one of the things that I found was there was a specific area in that design area, the things that you need to put together to design your business, that I really wasn't good enough at to be able to create success. So I literally found somebody that is the best in the industry in that particular field. I paid him almost $20,000 to be coached for a year so that he can help me to create success in that particular field, integrated that with other areas where I am good at, and then contracted in the talent that I needed to put all of these things together to create success and then to scale and grow. It's a completely different world. You look at it completely different ways, but it provides growth that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to do in a very affordable way. So you also do not need all that much investment. So here's what we've covered. First of all, we looked at building a thriving service-based business in the innovation economy, how prismatic business design transform your business in 2 months, and how to succeed fast and sidestep the risk of failure. Like I said, this is what the webinar outlines, how to use the transformed online remoting environment to accelerate your business success in ways not possible in any other business paradigm. Okay, you now have 2 options. Option 1 is you can take what I've taught you here today and have a stab at it and try and get it working for yourself. Option 2, what if you make Remitania your home to sidestep the valley of death and accelerate your success? We have pulled everything you heard together and simplified the journey for you to succeed fast. If in listening to all of these things, your heart started to race because you saw your mind was opened and you saw all these opportunities and your head is spinning by all the wows of realizing what is possible in this new world. If you are a proactive self-starter who sees opportunities to make a significant difference by exploring and unlocking new and unique value from this exciting environment, then just maybe you are a Remitanian by heart. There's only one way really to find out. We need to talk. And for that reason, we offer a once-off, 100% free 1-hour discussion with you, where we can meet online and discuss. Because we are also always on the lookout for like-minded individuals wanting to make a difference the Remitania way. And I have outlined for you the Remitania way in this webinar. Currently, we have more than 150 members and it's growing. We provide you with a simplified road to success in online remoting and an accelerated pathway to growth and to scaling. The name Remitania is not by chance, because moving from the old business paradigm to the new business paradigm is not that dissimilar from moving from one country to another country. It's a different country. It's a different culture. So this is our culture. We move beyond competition. We create win-win outcomes for all our members. And the collective success accelerates the individual business success significantly and beyond the wildest dreams. Think back, for instance, on the example I gave you on Sony Ericsson moving to Mobile Heights and how an ecosystem is created to help everybody succeed, and that collective success accelerates everybody collectively and individually. That's the culture of Remitania. On the video call, we are going to discuss the following. We are going to explore what are your aspirations, what are the barriers that you are experiencing, and then explain the approach that we follow in a little bit more detail. And then if it really is a win-win match, we can add a whole lot of value for you, and you also look at this and say, yep, this is what I need in my business. Then we may make you an offer to join us. But please take into account that there is an application process. Reality is we say no far more often than we say yes for businesses to join us. And the reason is we do not want to waste your time and money. We are not trying to get as many members as quickly as possible. We want those who will benefit most from working with us to really accelerate their business to work with us, because we also have limited resources and we want to use it well. Also, our service is not free. You're going to get access to proprietary knowledge and know-how and ways of doing things that honestly you can't find anywhere else. But beyond that, the methods of growing your business, they are also not free. You may have to sign up to online platforms that's going to cost you a subscription fee. So this does require investment. Those who join, and I've given you a few examples, experience significant growth as they implement what they learn. Here's an example. I've given you her as an example at the beginning. My journey started with Remotania. Now I have a successful online personal development business. Go for the impossible. This is just a post that she made on social media that I just made a screen capture of. And here is Anna-Marie that I also gave you, and this is another just screen capture. I've been able to boost my income significantly. Joining the Remotania program was a life changer. Was it easy? Not at the beginning. Did I have buyer's remorse? A few times. Do I regret anything? Only that I didn't discover Remotania earlier. Within just a few months, that could be your story. But please take note, as you can imagine, these calls are really very popular and we have limited resources. So to make sure you get a spot, apply for a call right now. Click on the link in the chat box or below this video to apply for a call. This is how it's going to work. This is the application process. If you click on the link, you will be taken to an application form. Please complete it and then submit it. Now, you will receive feedback because during the application process, you may be asked to also choose and reserve a date and a time for the call, and you will receive an email confirming that date and time, or you'll receive an email explaining why we believe now is not the best time for this once-off free call with you and what we recommend the next steps to be for you given what you have shared with us in the application form. And then step 3, for those who were invited to reserve a date and a time, we will review your application within 24 hours and send you an email advising on the outcome of your application and confirming the date and time of the call. So, to start the process, you need to click on the link in the chat box or below this video to apply. Why would you want to do that? Because you're going to get access to depth of unique, experiential, cutting-edge know-how in multiple and diverse fields. And all of that is simplified into a proven online remoting success formula, as well as an online service-based business accelerator made specifically for this exciting environment. Thank you so much for having attended this webinar. I hope you are excited as much as I am about this new environment and what it offers you and your business. I'm going to leave this slide active for another 10 seconds or so, just to give you time so that you can click on the link in the chat box if you haven't done it so. Hopefully we speak soon, and I hope you have enjoyed this webinar as much as I have enjoyed sharing this with you.